regulation has really been the kicker for a lot of technological innovation in the gaming space in the UK. If you go back 5 or 6 years, gambling operators actually didn't have to perform very many identity checks or strong identity checks at registration. They had 72 hours in order to verify an individual post-registration. So what that meant is that most identity checks were done manually. Operators didn't have the issue of time being a factor. They could accept identity documents via whatever channel and verify them themselves internally. The change that came in essentially asked operators to start verifying individuals before they could place any bets, so at registration. It was a huge change for operators at the time that essentially saw, first of all, we're going to have to adapt our processes. We're going to need a way to authenticate individuals at the front end. Also, this could be a massive hit on revenue. Identity checks aren't always seamless. If someone provides the wrong document, or it's a blurry image, or we just don't quite have what we need, we no longer have 72 hours to go back and forward with the individual. So the innovation that drove wasn't just implementing identity checks at the front end or digital identity checks at the front end for speed. What the industry was really looking for was systems that could speak to the customer or the player as they were going through the process. So how do we handle it if someone uploads the wrong image first time, or if the image isn't good enough quality for us to form a judgment on their identity? Those are the kind of questions we got from the industry. And so we saw that the innovation they required wasn't just identity-based, but really UX, UI, player messaging, and all of those types of things. So that drove huge change, not only for gambling, but also in terms of how identity vendors approached gambling operators in the UK. I think some of the regulation that's about to come now is slightly different. It's less about identity checks on the front end. It's really about affordability. So the regulation coming in is asking operators to do more to understand if their players can afford to be betting the amounts they're betting, or to be betting as much as they are betting. The issue with that is, one, it's a technological one. How do you know that? And two, it's a social one. It's a privacy one. The only real way you can know that is by understanding someone's income, their bank balance. And while that might be okay to find out at the end of a process, so when someone's processing a large withdrawal, they've got some big incentive to give you that information. Doing it at registration, which is where it looks like where we're going, is a challenge. It's difficult to do that from a tech perspective. People's incomes aren't public. Even from a document perspective, it's still hard to form a decision, but you're also asking people socially to do something very different that they might not do. So that's definitely going to force some innovation or a change in the regs, but that's usually how we see it going in the UK.